Edfu, Egypt, April 2018. Egyptologist Rami Rahmani has invited author and researcher Andrew Collins to join him on a visit to one of the most impressive and best preserved shrines in Egypt, the Temple of Edfu, located on the west bank of the Nile, 465 miles south of Cairo.
Look at this temple. This is like my most favorite facade in all of the temples of ancient Egypt.
According to mainstream archaeologists, Edfu is believed to have been built sometime between 237 and 57 BC. It is dedicated to the falcon-headed god Horus.
This temple was one of the last temples that was ever built in ancient Egypt during the Roman times. When they built that temple, they were like, we want to preserve the stories, so let's gather all the mythology of ancient Egypt and try to put it in one temple. It took 150 years to make this happen. And then finally, we have the book of ancient Egyptian mythology. It's right in front of us on all these walls.
Every wall is absolutely covered in hieroglyphs and images, not only of the foundation of ancient Egypt and the first temple, but also how the world came into being, how Egypt came into being, how the universe was essentially founded in the first place. I mean, there's just so much here.
The most sacred part of Edfu is its inner sanctum, featuring a 12-foot tall granite stone.
This is it, right here. This is how it all began. Every symbol, every text, every little drawing in here represents the most sacred thing for ancient Egyptians. The question that humans now still ask themselves, how did it all begin? What created us? About every religion talks about it. Scientists try to figure out. Ancient Egyptians had an answer, and it was right there. Right on top of this is the pyramidion. That pyramidion is the primeval mound that appeared in the middle of the marches where all the gods came and landed on for the first time to start creating humanity. This is the beginning of humanity.
And the pyramidion is almost like a miniature of what we see at Giza with the Great Pyramid, which is so fascinating because what we have here is a focus of all of these chapels, finishing with this incredible structure pointing towards the stars. It's actually pointing towards the origins of the gods themselves.
There's another piece of evidence here that you might like. This is the boat, or a symbol of the boat that they believed the gods came on to the first primeval stone,
Well, that's
to
quite
the first
extraordinary.
primeval
Yeah.
mound. The gods would have arrived on this ship.
So it's all here in this sanctuary. The whole story of humanity's beginning, you know, its place in the stars and how it arrived here in the first place. This, to me, strongly suggests that they were aware that our origins are found amongst the stars.
Or could it just simply be humans trying to make religions explain what science can't explain?
But I don't think it's about religion. This is about cosmology, an ancient cosmology that we're now beginning to understand for the first time within science. We can now essentially say that the idea that life came from the stars is almost certainly a reality, whether it came here or on a meteorite or whatever. Somehow the ancient Egyptians knew this.
Central America. Here, in western Honduras, lie the impressive ruins of the ancient Maya city of Copan. And though Copan's temples, pyramids, and monuments rank among the most important of any Mayan sites, researchers looking to explain the incredible achievements of the Maya have been drawn to a 72-step structure known as the Hieroglyphic Stairway.
The hieroglyphic stairway at Copan was constructed in the early 700s AD with the intent of writing out the history of Copan at that time. And so it was designed as a public monument to the glory and success of all the kings from Yash Kukmo all the way to the 13th one who commissioned it to be built.
Carved into 1,200 stones in the massive monument, the ancient Maya symbols, known as glyphs, make up what historians believe is one of the oldest and most sophisticated systems of writing. But for centuries, the glyphs found throughout Mesoamerica were undecipherable. Then, in 1880, German librarian and anthropologist Ernst Forstmann cracked the code.
Ernst Forstmann was a librarian at Dresden, and in his desk he kept one of the 4 Maya books, the Dresden Codex. He was a brilliant mathematician and extremely logical and had enormous insights. And at a time when we couldn't read a single Maya hieroglyph, he was able to figure out the Maya calligraphy.
Maya hieroglyphic writing is very robust, and that's because it uses really 2 components. There are logographs. Logographs are really pictures that represent entire words. So Balam, for example, which is jaguar, could be written with just the head of a jaguar. On the other, we have these things that we call phonetic complements. And these are glyphs, they're images that represent sounds.
According to interpretations of the hieroglyphic stairway, the glyphs chronicle not only the history, but also the origin of the ancient Maya rulers.
The hieroglyphs are really attached to what was important to royalty at the time, and that was lineage, and the genealogies of the kings. They went out of their way to demonstrate how they were connected to their ancestors and the gods of their ancestors to establish their right to rule.
This is a picture I took of a close-up of a sculpture of Washak Lajun Uba Ka'wil, the 13th ruler of Copan, and he's depicted here on the front in all of his finery, and then the sculptor put a hieroglyphic passage on the side. We don't think commoners could read, but all the elites could, and the king could. So he or another elite individual could come here and impress people by saying this demonstrates the semi-divinity of our king and his power to intercede between us and the heavens.
But just what was the real source of power and authority behind the Maya priests and kings? Do the hieroglyphs reveal an otherworldly truth to their origin, as the Maya themselves maintain? Ancient astronaut theorists believe the answer is yes.
What we have to think about today is, where did the origin of the priesthood come from? And the origin is nothing else but that they, the initial cabal of priests, they were all in contact with extraterrestrials, and that's why they were revered. Our ancestors thought they were gods because they didn't understand the nuts and bolts aspects behind those visits. But when it all comes down to it, it was all a huge misunderstanding and a way to keep the common people in place.
Val Camonica, Italy, June 13th, 2019. Ancient astronaut theorist William Henry has traveled to this UNESCO World Heritage Site to investigate what he believes could be forensic evidence that the early civilizations of this region came into contact with extraterrestrials.
Hi, I'm William.
Hi, I'm Lucas. Nice to meet you.
Joining him is Luca Giarelli, the head of the Val Camonica Historical and Anthropological Society. Luca has spent years studying this mysterious region of northern Italy and wants to show William the rock carvings for which this alpine valley is famous.
This place is massive.
Yeah, it's very big, and the rock art covers all that area. Are you ready for a hike?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Let's go.
I'm here at Valcamonica because it is a treasure trove of images from the ancient world that have been well documented and studied by scholars. They don't agree on the meaning of the images, but some of them are very open-minded to the ancient astronaut theory.
This is one of the rock art sites here in Valcamonica.
Footprints.
Footprints there.
Wow.
You can see here,
Look like deer.
we have warriors.
Look at this. Incredible.
Thousands and thousands of figures on the rocks. Here we are.
Wow.
What we have here? We have this one, this figure,
Oh, look at that.
this spaceman.
Spaceman, exactly. Look at the helmet.
Look at the helmet.
Right. It's like he's glowing.
Yeah. And the communion rose.
The communion rose.
It's a strange and mysterious symbol with 9 dots. Was made probably of the first millennium before Christ.
Wow.
We have 19 communion roses in Valcamonica.
19 communion roses.
Archaeologists call this mysterious symbol the communion rose because of its flower-like shape, while its exact meaning is lost to history. Some believe it to be a religious symbol or a representation of the movement of the stars. But ancient astronaut theorists suggest it might also depict something else, the vessel that brought these helmeted figures to Valcamonica.
Look at that. That looks like a spaceship. It's like you'd look up in the sky and you would see this kind of twirling, spinning ship in the sky. It seems to me, just looking at it, they're trying to talk about beings coming from other worlds, maybe to this place.
It could be an interpretation.
Sometimes the stars mean energy, like energy from the stars would come to this place, where star beings would come to this place.
Yeah, it could be an interpretation. We have a lot of mystery about the meaning of the engravings here in Valcamonica. We have a different motivation, religious, mythological, and also describing events.
Okay.
So
this is like a newspaper then. It says this was in the sky above us at some point, and this spaceman came down and maybe met the communion people.
it could be.
Given the connection with the spacemen that are etched into the rock, that we have to be open to the possibility that what the ancient artist is trying to portray is something that he actually saw in the sky, something coming out of the heavens. Were there any other cultures that were connected with the valley?
We found some engravings that represent god of Celtic religion.
What sort of engravings?
You know Cernunnos? It's a
Oh, the horned god. Yeah.
yeah, it's a horned god. And we find the same figure here in Valcamonica.
That means the Celts were here.
Yeah, they were the connection.
So is this the only location where we see the spaceman?
No, we have 2 locations. This is one, but we can't find another astronaut out of the path.
Even deeper into the woods.
Yeah, we can go there if you want.
I'd love to go.
Let's go.
Luca guides William up a steep portion of the valley for a rare look at another carving hidden from public view.
Be careful.
All right, thanks.
Whoa, here we are. Take a look where we are.
Wow. We're like on the edge of a cliff here.
We have less than 100 people in the last 10 years that came here. Did you see them?
Wait a minute, that's one of them, isn't it, right there?
Yeah.
How cool.
Couple of spacemen.
Wow.
You can see here the helmet with the rays, like the other one.
Yeah, these are just like the other guys.
Yeah, it's very similar, but they are bigger.
The detail is amazing.
Yeah. It's like a mirror, one in front of the other. Same position, same helmet.
There's clearly some kind of an exchange that's happening here. It's like they're making a photograph of what happened at this place. They're trying to say, at this spot, this is what we saw here.
We don't know, but it's very strange because it's a hidden location. These engravings are not meant to be seen by other people.
Of all places to find a rock like this is a very secretive, almost initiatory place where select people would be brought here to be told this story about these extraterrestrials.
Yeah, maybe it's a hidden message for us.
Central Coast, New South Wales, Australia. Deep in the Brisbane Water National Park is a mysterious site known as the Gosford Glyphs. The site consists of two massive 8-foot-high walls engraved with over 300 ancient carvings. Carvings that experts say do not resemble indigenous artwork, but Egyptian hieroglyphs.
Absolutely beautiful out here.
I know.
While visiting the area in 2016, Georgios Tsoukalos met with local ancient astronaut theorist Evan Strong to get a first-hand look at these enigmatic carvings.
Wow! That's incredible. I had no idea. I mean, this looks totally different than on pictures. So what do these hieroglyphs say?
Well, at least one panel talks about two brothers, two princes, coming here from Egypt. They were shipwrecked. One of them ended up getting bitten by a snake. He then died. The theory is then he was interred here, and that's why you've got hieroglyphs here, because he died here. But there's these other walls with a mixture of symbols. This one over here, it's more of a philosophical astrophysics style thing with symbols meaning all sorts of esoteric stuff. So
Now, have these symbols at all been interpreted by Egyptologists?
there've been a few actually, a few different people have done that.
What was their reaction?
Well, Raymond Johnson was one of the first people to come here and translate. He actually sent some of his translations off to the Cairo Library, and Dr. Abu Dia Ghazi ended up saying, yep, you're on the right track. Something called Proto-Egyptian.
And how old do you reckon these are?
We're thinking, because of the prevalence, at least in one panel of Proto-Egyptian, that it's about 4,600 years old.
Wow. Are there any hieroglyphs that stand out to you?
Yeah, definitely. Follow me down here and I'll show you this other one. So this one here, we call the UFO glyph, and people have called that since they've been coming here because it kind of looks like a UFO.
It definitely has the classic UFO shape. It's got the rays or whatever you want to call it. What would you suggest if anyone says, well, this is not a UFO, it's some other symbol, but certainly not that?
I think someone suggested it's jewelry, but it's a completely different symbol that's upside down, and it really doesn't quite fit in. It's one of those symbols here that doesn't fit into the canon.
In your opinion, why do you think the Egyptians made it all the way to Australia?
I think they were looking for esoteric wisdom, definitely.
From the Aboriginals?
Yes.
The ancient Egyptians, we have stories and Aboriginal stories about their arrival and about their visits long before Europeans had arrived here. Naturally, we would have shared ceremony with these people because they have the same similar beliefs as our people. Egyptians have that same spiritual connection to the sky world.